Stand on the banks of the Vistula at dawn, and you'll hear a low growl in the wind. It's not the river, it's history, clearing its throat. Empires have tried to sprint across this plain and found themselves knee-deep in mud, maps, and regret. Poland is the rare country that looks flat on paper, but fights like it has mountains hidden in the wheat. From the Baltic chop to the Carpathian bones, it's a fortress without walls, a logistics puzzle that turns into a trap the moment you think you've solved it. And in September 2025, it reminded everyone that it's not just ready on paper, it's ready in real time. This isn't just about romantic rivers and stubborn soil. It's about a state that has tuned its entire nervous system for one job: make invasion not worth the invoice. Geography sets the stage, but modernization, infrastructure, and alliances do the casting. Poland's plan is simple. Every corridor becomes a choke, every bridge a choice, and every month the defense gets a little sharper. Invaders don't run out of courage, they run out of time. Start with that famous northeastern shoulder. The Suwałki region is a narrow seam between Kaliningrad and Belarus that looks like a highway until you actually drive it. It's lakes, forests, and soil that turns to pudding in the wet. It's also watched, rehearsed, and wired into NATO planning. Warsaw and its allies train over rivers and through those woods, because rushing this corridor is like speedrunning a maze with a backpack full of bricks. One more reason invaders love the word gap, right up until the moment it closes. But September 2025 pushed this from theory to practice. After a surge of hostile drones probed NATO airspace, Poland closed all its crossings with Belarus on the night of September 11th to 12th, then reopened them once the Russia-led Zapad 2025 drills wrapped, and only after making the point that the gate can slam when needed. Warsaw tied that to a suspected wave of roughly 21 Russian drones detected on September 9th to 10th. Allies deployed an AWACS to the region, and NATO air policing ran hot. It wasn't theater, it was a live stress test, and the system flexed without cracking. This is how modern Poland behaves under pressure. It closes valves, reroutes flows, and calls in the cavalry while blinking. Sweden's NATO membership now threads the Baltic with allies, and by late September, Polish and Swedish troops were simulating the defense of Gotland, an unsinkable runway, guarding sea lanes and reinforcing routes. If you plan to cut Poland's lifelines to the Baltics, be ready to contest a NATO lake patrolled by very alert neighbors. Let's talk infrastructure, because fortresses are only as good as their plumbing. Poland's east shield, Tarcza Wschód, isn't a pretty wall for photo ops. It's a 700-kilometer defense belt along Belarus and Kaliningrad, built from layered sensors, anti-drone systems, bunkers, anti-tank obstacles, ditches, hardened shelters, and dual-use mobility upgrades, reaching up to 50 kilometers inland. It's meant to slow, canalize, report, and survive. The budget is pegged at roughly 10 billion zloty through 2028, and the government has been busy pushing tenders for the construction gear that turns concept into berms and concrete. Think of it as a software update for the landscape itself. The point of East Shield isn't to make a line nobody can cross. It's to make crossing so miserable that a modern attack burns fuel, time, and morale before the real fight even starts. Surveillance flags movement early. Obstacles shove attackers into killing areas. Dual-use road and rail work keeps Polish brigades moving while wrecking crew paths for the other side. And because it ties into similar efforts across Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, an invader can't just go around. The neighborhood co-signed the mortgage. Now look at the teeth. In 2025, deliveries kept landing with the regularity of commuter trains. Poland confirmed it has taken delivery of 160 K2 tanks, 192 K9 self-propelled howitzers, and 126 Homar-K rocket launchers from South Korea. Those join domestically built Krav howitzers and incoming HIMARS, forming an artillery choir that sings in ranges, not opinions. And crucially, Homar-K is being localized. Polish trucks, Polish fire control, and joint ventures to produce guided rockets at home. That's not just capability, that's sustainment under fire. Up in the air, Poland is stacking layers like it's building a sandwich you can't bite through. Aegis ashore at Redzakowo is operational, adding ballistic missile defense to the neighborhood's radar picture. The Wisła program's Patriot batteries are knitting into IBCS, while Narew and Police plus bring Camp family missiles down low to SWAT cruise missiles, drones, and low flyers. September saw MBDA deliver the first series production CAM missiles and Politsa Plus launchers, the kind of news that makes adversary planners feel suddenly lactose intolerant. When you fuse all of this, you don't just deny airspace, you deny the belief that air power will bail you out. And the wings? Poland's F-35 line stays on track, with the first jets entering country service next year, while FA-50s keep the runway warm and the sortie rate high. Down in the grass, the Apache plan is a sledgehammer. 96 AH-64E on the way, with leased AH-64D models already flying, so crews aren't learning from manuals and memes. That combination, 5th-gen eyes, attack rotor teeth, and layered ground-based air defense creates a no-fly superstition over the eastern frontiers. Powering all this is money and muscle memory. Warsaw isn't flirting with 2% of GDP, it blew past it. In 2024, Poland sat a little above 4%, and in 2025 it's shaping around 4.7% of GDP for defense, with leaders openly discussing constitutionalizing a 4% floor. That's not a budget line, that's a habit. And when citizens line up for voluntary training by the tens of thousands, the state's defense isn't just steel, it's society. You can degrade a radar, you can't jam stubbornness. The logistics arteries are also getting armor plating. Energy is a battlefield now, and Poland treated it that way. The Świnoujście LNG terminal finished its big expansion in January 2025 to 8.3 billion cubic meters of regas capacity, breaking throughput records by late summer. That's fewer pressure points for an adversary to squeeze, and more options for Warsaw to keep the lights on and the depots humming even when someone tries to play pipeline politics. You can't freeze out a country that stocked the pantry. Now stitch the force posture to the alliance. The US Army's 5th Corps Forward HQ in Poznan turns Poland into a planning engine, not just a parking lot. Exercises like Dragon and Steadfast Defender rehearsed wide wet gap crossings on the Vistula and the rapid shove to the Suwalki area. Those clips aren't for recruiting, they're for reminding anyone watching that NATO moves real steel across real rivers on real timelines. And this month's AWACS deployment to Lithuania, triggered by drone shenanigans across the region, underscored the point. The eastern flank doesn't wait to react, it rotates to contact. What does an invasion even look like against that? A push from Kaliningrad into the Masurian lakes hits canalized roads, tree lines full of eyes, and artillery that doesn't need line of sight to read your vitals. A lunge from Belarus toward Bialystok or the Suwalki region runs into East Shield obstacles, ambushing territorial battalions, and brigade-level fires retasked by a joint headquarters that's already plugged into Allied ISR. Try to dominate the skies and you meet a hedgehog of SAMs and SHORAD that treats drones like clay pigeons. Chase the nodes and Polish jets hunt the hunters. It's a lose-lose buffet. The more you commit, the more routes you expose. The more you caution, the more time Poland buys. September's real-time drill also showed the political circuitry works. Border closures, NATO consultations, AWACS and QRA on the wing, and then reopening crossings once the exercise threat receded. Fast decisions, reversible steps, coordinated messaging. That's deterrence as customer service. We're open until you make us close. And when Warsaw says the gate can drop again without notice, people now believe it, because they just saw it. If you're thinking, fine, but occupation solves it, welcome to your next headache. Poland's territorial defense forces are local, stubborn, and wired into national mobilization plans. Every road behind an invader would host 1,000 small, mean problems, and none of them wear name tags. Meanwhile, professional brigades keep maneuvering because dual-use infrastructure upgrades and pre-surveyed demolition points give engineers the steering wheel. Invaders don't just need tanks, they need patience, and patience doesn't travel well. The Baltic is its own choke point calculus. Coastal missile units with NSM draw red lines over key sea lanes, and the Miecznik frigates under construction will add long-range air defense and sea control in a NATO bay that keeps shrinking for unfriendly flags. Add Swedish missile batteries on Gotland, and you get an overlapping set of angles that would make any admiral reach for herbal tea. You don't secure the Baltic anymore. You tiptoe through a minefield of alliances. Here's the part that really wrecks an attacker's math. This machine improves monthly. East Shield pours concrete and plants sensors. Artillery parks receive new launchers and more domestic munitions. Air defense batteries accept CAM and integrate deeper into IBCS. Avionics and pilots mature in parallel. And Sweden's integration into NATO's Baltic defense plan shortens call-up chains. If attacking last year was a bad idea, this year is worse. And next year will be bring a spreadsheet labeled regrets. Deterrence here is an escalator going up while adversaries try to sprint down. Let's do the uncomfortable audit. Vulnerabilities exist. The East is wide, precision strikes happen, and politics can be messy. But Poland is treating each vulnerability like a sprint event. Airspace probes, shootdowns, AWACS, and Article 4 consultations. Hybrid pressure at the border, close crossings, surge troops, reopen when conditions permit. Munitions stockpiles, localize rocket and missile production with partners to shorten the supply chain and lengthen endurance. Even energy is being turned into a strategic hedgehog. An invader can target critical points. Poland's counter is to have fewer critical points and more backups. For the military nerds who enjoy numbers more than lunch. Rocket artillery depth now lets Poland touch an attacker's ammo parks and bridges hundreds of kilometers out. K2 and Leopard 2 fleets give maneuver brigades steel and optics to overmatch, while K9 and Crab keep the percussion section loud. Patriot batteries under IBCS coordinate with Narev and Politsa Plus so that one radar queue can cascade to the best shooter. And the air layer, F-16s now, F-35s inbound, FA-50s grinding sorties, Apaches stalking the tree lines, turns the map into a game of find the thing that can safely move. Spoiler, not many things. Infrastructure isn't the B-roll, it's the blood flow. Railheads and depots in the east coordinate with westbound corridors that stay open under pressure. East Shield's dual-use focus primes county roads and rail spurs for military traffic, while pre-planned bridge hardening and demolition nodes let engineers sculpt the battlefield in hours, not days. This is how you defend flat land. You make the ground disobey the attacker. You don't need cliffs when you can build friction. And because YouTube isn't a briefing room, we'll show it while we tell it. When we talk Suwałki, you'll see the terrain, not just the legend. When we list deliveries, a timeline will walk across the screen with ship dates and unit photos. When we talk mobilization, an infographic will chart enrollment spikes since 2024, peaking again this month as people watched drones wander through the headlines and decided they preferred the view from a rifle range. So why is Poland impossible to invade? Because invasion isn't just crossing a border, it's solving a system in motion. Poland's system cheats the attacker's clock, terrain that refuses to cooperate, fortifications that turn speed into a rumor, fires that reach deep and often, air defenses that make pilots nostalgic for simulators, a society that doesn't fracture under pressure, allies who practice like they mean it, and a modernization pipeline that guarantees tomorrow is harder than today. September 2025 sealed the lesson. Border closures happened in hours, not weeks. Drones got intercepted and investigated. AWACS circled, and NATO jets pulled alert duty like it was a reflex. Then crossings reopened, because deterrence isn't just about slamming doors. It's about demonstrating you can open them again, on your timetable. The East Shield pours concrete as we speak. LNG keeps the heat on, and deliveries keep clicking into unit ledgers. Every month, this defense network adds a string, a sensor, a silo, a trick. If you're an adversary staff officer brainstorming a plan, you face a menu of bad ideas. Blitz and you bleed. Probe and you get filmed, tracked, and framed for the next exercise. Escalate and you unify NATO around a live example. The math says this only gets tougher because Poland isn't trying to win a single day. It's trying to make every future day a worse day for you. That's adaptive deterrence, and it's hard to outmaneuver a country that's already moving faster than your plan. Stand on the Vistula at dusk, and the wind sounds different. It's not romantic, it's resolute. If you're tempted to test whether Poland has a back door, remember that the last people who tried to just push through wound up learning a lot about mud, bridges, and humility. The better question isn't how to invade Poland. It's how to keep making it harder to even consider, month after month, upgrade after upgrade, drill after drill. Because here, deterrence isn't static. It's a moving target with a long memory, and it's not planning to slow down.